In this video, we're going to add time intelligence and conditional formatting to our Power BI reports. Having a look at our area chart, you'll see we get some pretty large fluctuations in revenue from one month to the next. And we'd like to actually quantify these fluctuations and have a visualization that shows us exactly how much we're increasing or decreasing by from one month to the next. And we're going to create this visualization in our sales trends page. So can you come to the next page in your report? But before we can create the visualization, we're going to actually need to calculate those amounts. Now we're actually going to need two calculations. To work out the change between this month's revenue and the previous month's revenue, the first thing we need to work out is what was the previous month's revenue. And we can do this using a DAX function called previous month. All right, so let's on the right-hand side select order items because that's the table where we want it to go. And then we're going to click new measure. And we're going to call our new measure revenue previous month. And we're going to type in equals. Now what we're really trying to do is take our revenue measure and filter it to only show us the values for the previous month. Now you may recall from last week that the DAX function we use to apply a filter is the calculate function. So we're going to put in a calculate function, CAL and tab for calculate. The thing we're trying to calculate is our revenue, so we're just going to select revenue and then type a comma. Now comes the new bit. We want to filter our revenue to only show the previous month's values. So we're going to type PRE, and you'll see there are 4 previous functions in DAX, and the one we want is previous month. So I'm going to tab to select that. Now, like the time intelligence functions we saw last week, previous month requires a date variable, and it must be from a table where we have consecutive dates. So once again, we're seeing why it is so important to have a calendar table in our model because it allows us to use time intelligence functions. We're going to select calendar date, close our bracket for the previous month, and close our bracket for the calculate, and then press enter. We probably also want to format that measure. So coming up to format, let's set that to currency, and we're going to set it to 0 decimal places. So there's our calculation for previous month. Now what we need to do is get the difference between this month and the previous month, and that's a nice easy measure. So we're going to click new measure again. We're going to call this one month on month change. And we're simply going to take revenue from this month and subtract revenue from the previous month. Nice and easy. And press enter. We're now ready to create our visualization. And a really good choice of visualization if you're trying to show increases and decreases over time is the waterfall chart. So I'm just going to click onto my canvas, and then from the visualizations, I'm going to select waterfall chart. And then I'm just going to resize and reposition so it takes up about the first half of my canvas. Coming to my calendar table, I'm going to add fiscal month, and then I'm going to add my new measure, month on month change. And now not only can we see exactly how much our revenue increased or decreased by each month, but we get a column showing us the total change over that financial year. Another metric we'd like to look at is our percentage change from one month to the next. And to show this, we're actually going to include a table. So just click to the right of your waterfall chart, and then in the visualizations, can you please find tables just next to matrix? And I actually want to put my table next to my waterfall chart. So I'm just going to move that up there and resize. And similar to my waterfall chart, I want to see fiscal month And I'd like to see my revenue for this month and my revenue for the previous month. But there are a few changes I need to make to the table. So coming to my Format panel, I'm going to turn the totals off because they don't make a lot of sense in this situation. And I'd also like to make my values a little easier to read. So under values, I'm going to increase them to size 10. And then I'm going to do the same for my column headings. I'm going to make them size 10 as well. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And now I just need to create one more measure to show me my percentage change. Now, percentage change is easy to calculate. We just need to take our month-on-month change and divide it by our previous month's revenue. So making sure we've got order items selected, we're going to click New Measure. And this is going to be month-on-month percentage change. And I could just use my /, but DAX provides us with a much safer divide called the divide function. And the advantage of the divide function is it allows us to handle a divide by zero error. And if you think about it, we don't have any sales from before July 2017. So we are going to end up with a potential divide by zero. The divide function will allow us to specify how to handle that. Right, so typing in divide, first thing we need is our numerator. That's going to be the bit at the top. That's our month-on-month change, then a comma. And we want to divide that by our previous month's revenue. So revenue, previous month. And then another comma, because this is where we specify what to do if we get a divide by zero. And I'm just going to type a 0, close my bracket, and press enter. And then again, I will want to format this. So we're going to set this as a percentage with 1 decimal place. That's all set up. Let's now go and add that to our table. So finding your brand new measure, we're going to tick on that. And we can now see our month-on-month percentage change. And if I come to my 2018 fiscal year, you can see it's handled that divide by zero beautifully. Looking great. Back to 2020. One last thing we're going to look at, still working in our table, we're going to see how we can add conditional formatting. I would like to see a green up arrow where there's been an increase, a red down arrow where there's been a decrease, and where there's been practically no change. So let's say between -1% and 1%, I just want to see a little flat line. And we can do this with conditional formatting. But it's slightly hidden, so let's see where we find it. Make sure you've got your table selected. We're going to come to Format, and if you scroll down slightly, you'll find Conditional Formatting. We want to add conditional formatting to our month-on-month percentage change column, so just select that. And then if you have a look at the options, very similar to Excel, you can change the background color, the font color, you can add data bars, or the one we're looking for, icons. So can you please turn the icons on? And those weren't the icons I had in mind. So we're going to select Advanced Controls. And from here, you can choose the icon sets you want to use and the ranges you want to apply them to. So we're going to start by coming to Style, click the drop down. And the ones we're looking for are the up and down arrows. So I'm going to select those. And now I can specify which ranges I want to add them to. So the red triangle is going to be where there's been a decrease. So I'm going to say is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to say -100, and I'm going to change that to a number. And is less than, and remember we said that we would do everything under -1%. So that's going to be 0.01. And I'm going to change that to number. And the reason I'm not using percentages is they won't let you go over 100%, but you could actually have a 200% increase. So we're going to work with numbers rather. Then for the middle one, we're going to say is greater than or equal to -0.01, and again, number, and is less than 0.01. And finally, an increase is anything over 0.01 and less than 100. That's all set up. We're going to click OK, and our conditional formatting has been applied. And of course, if we change our filters, it automatically updates the conditional formatting. So we've seen how using DAX and our calendar table, we can add time intelligence to our reports, and we've even seen how we can add conditional formatting. The report is starting to look great, and the next thing I want to be able to do is share this with colleagues. So in the next video, we're going to have a look at some options for sharing our Power BI reports.